You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, before we commence the second part of our conversation on the lifting of Forex restrictions or the importation of some 43 items, let's listen to the excerpts from the first part of the discussion. And the excerpts are compiled by our correspondent, Oyemi Ajayi.
We don't, enact policies just as the spirit led. No, we enact policies based on process. And there's what we call also competitive and comparative advantage. There are areas where we have strengths in the economy. There are areas we have challenges. It's erroneous to believe that those items were banned in the first place. They were not banned. What was happening is that they were sourcing their foreign exchange from the parallel markets. They were not banned. And in any case, in the last couple of years, how many economic players are accessing foreign exchange from the official window?
In this economy, as at today, we are experiencing negative interest rates because the interest rates paid for depositors, for deposit received from customers is well below inflation rate. So technically, if you are keeping money in a bank, you are losing money. And most of the time, you get deposit for 90 days, 180 days. So you seldom get deposit for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So the banks are not able to, to collect money from depositors short time and then lend long time.
This Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment has been a bit dormant. Permit me to say it very strongly. And that ministry has to reinvent herself. Because you have three portfolio, very critical for the economy, being upheld. And of course, if that ministry was ebullient and very strong, many of the things that are happening within the CBN and other sectors today would have been centered there.
All right, we just listened to some of our guests on yesterday's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, giving us perspectives on lifting of Forex restriction. We have another round of guests here in the studio. Let me begin with Dr. Tochukwu Okafo, who is Senior Economics Analyst, and he's right here with us in our Abuja studio. Dr. Okafo, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. I must say, you guys are looking ravishing. It's as if you're not in this economy with us, but...
No comment. Joining us from Kaduna studio is Professor Isao Ango. He's Professor of Finance and Entrepreneurship, as well as Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics, Kaduna State University. Professor Ango, thank you. Once again, it's good to see you.
Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Nigerians. It's good to be here.
All right, Professor Isao Ango, congratulations on your elevation to the position of DVC at Kaduna State University. I hope that your schedule of work will not disturb your consistent and regular appearance on Good Morning Nigeria. Once again, congratulations. Back in the studios here with us is Mani Danali, he's CEO of Gayauna Farm Enterprises, located in different parts of the Federal Capital Territory. Mani, we're glad to have you on the program today.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, Tochukwu, you say we're looking well. You're looking. You are looking even weller. You're looking even weller. So, well, that's the way it goes. But talking more seriously now, you at the beginning of the program, we of course gave a brief summary of the conversation that we had yesterday, and therefore the perspectives of the three guests who are also regulars on Good Morning Nigeria. Today, let's begin so that we can maximize the time. Look, the first question I posed to Muda yesterday was lifting the restriction of for the 3 items to official effects. Good news or bad news? Good timing or inappropriate timing? Tochukwu, let's begin with you.
Okay, so first off, we can't have a straight answer to this because, I mean, it's never a straight answer. But I think part of the problem is because for a long time now, we've been doing a lot of partial equilibrium analysis, and that's very dangerous. More often than not, when the problem comes, we just talk about that sector and leave the other one and hold it constant. But when you're looking at things like Forex, inflation, NPR, interest rate and the rest, they're all prices. And anything that is on the price mechanism, right? Anything that is on price mechanism, you must put the balance between demand and supply. So in order to get a broader picture, I think we'll start with the NMPC, right? I think we already started discussing that this morning. Now, the NMPC in the last 10 years, right, before 2020, they were 90% of the Forex revenues were coming to them, right? That's, I think, 79 on oil revenues and 11 to gas. And also the expenditure, likewise. Now, before the swap arrangements, which they did, I think, 2.5 years ago, where they had arrangements with foreign refineries, they usually give 3 billion to the CBN. As of now, it's just 10% of that is going to the CBN, 300 million. Now, if you match that against the statistics currently now, the CBN requires, I think, 1.9 billion on the average to meet its obligations monthly. And then
Forex obligations?
Yeah, Forex obligations. And importers, right? Importers' requirements fall around that range of 4.6 to 4.7 billion, right? If you match that, we're already inching towards 7 billion. Matching that against the 300 million that's coming in, you see what we're saying already. And if you even look at that 300 million, it's not as if it's even fixed, because 3 out of the 300 million we have diaspora remittances, which is not within the immediate purview of the CBN again. And then we have FDI, which we know all the things that are constraining the FDI. So if you look at it, the truth about it is, there's no yes or no. The truth is, it's a good policy in that the pressure that was going to the parallel market was becoming too much. Before 2020, right, even after the ban, right, there was still this flexibility between the NAFEX market and the, what they call it, the parallel or the black market, as they call it. Then we now had the removal of cryptocurrency, even though people don't talk about it. That had a significant impact there too. You remove cryptocurrency, you ban the BDCs, and I don't know why this is actually underreported, that the BDC ban has been lifted and they've been given a 2.5 window on daily transactions, but it has kind of been lifted. Now, when you open it, what you're trying to do is you're trying to ease traction between the parallel and the official market, so that the whole weight is no more on the parallel market. Yes, it's good, but if you don't do the underlying factors, if you don't handle all those underlying factors, which we're going to discuss during the course of this discussion, it's going to be sustainable in the short run. If you see the first day of trading after they released it, we had 407, right? It jumped up to 407 this in the market. The next day, it dropped by almost 89% to 53. You understand? So when you're looking at those statistics, you know that it's policy impact analysis again. It's not just putting the policies. I think Dr. Muda said it yesterday. The policy impact analysis is what comes, what buffers or what hedges are you putting to actually wedge this policy as it's moving. But I think it's not a yes or no, but yes, good policy, but what are you using to back it up as it's going to be moving forward? Yeah, that's what the CBN should be doing with the Federal Ministry of Finance.
Tochukwu, thank you. Thank you for just laying it bare for us. Yeah. And I'd like to, throw my question to Manu Dan Ali, who, of course, is a poultry farmer, by every means. And this, while, the body of manufacturers, have come out to, of course, embrace the lifting and give it all the good marks and all that. Some people are saying, look, there should be some items on that list that shouldn't be, that should still have the restriction. How does this affect you as a poultry farmer?
Well, as you know, poultry is one of the most successful area in terms of commercialization in agriculture. It contributes about 25% of the agricultural GDP. And since 2003, under former President Olusegun Obasanjo, when there were some policies that sort of encouraged local production, it gave a very big oomph if I may put it that way, to the sector. And because of that, you have tons of people. I think by some estimation, maybe 85 million are involved in one poultry activity or the other, from the small scale housewife with a few chickens to the big operations where hundreds of thousands, if not over a million, have been reared. So, and for the sector, it's been one tough year. Started with the change of currency under former governor of the central bank, when poultry farmers were forced to sell their product at far below production price. I mean, at that time, the production cost was about 1,800 naira. But most poultry farmers for a period of about 3 months were selling at 1,200. And those are the lucky ones, because, you know, the confusion that that policy caused in the whole country, especially in the real economy. And then more lately, after the withdrawal of subsidy and all those actions, the convergence of the Forex and all of that, you find that people were so pauperized and they've canceled chicken, egg in their menu. And then usually there is always a glut when schools go for the long holidays. So the eggs don't get sold as quickly. So that is why a huge percentage of the poultry sector has just disappeared within this year. If you look around, you will see that lots and lots of poultry farms have shut. All the jobs that are available in that area no more exist. And then now, this strange policy, yeah, for the textbook economics, it sounds good, and people are happy, the organized sector. But the real sector, like the poultry, is just wondering, where is this coming from? And then poultry and rice, these are the two successful areas, but poultry more is much deeper. But even the rice, if you look at the value chain that has grown from the farmer who is growing the paddy, that is the rice that gets to the milling stage, to the millers, both the large-scale ones, the small-scale ones, and then all the other related activity that is tied up. It's just been throttled now by this policy, because what government seems to be saying is that, hang on guys, your jobs don't matter, what you've created doesn't matter, because we are going to be important. And we all know Thai rice, Pakistani rice, Indian rice, and all of that, because of the support that agriculture gets in those countries, will be far cheaper than Nigeria's rice. So of course, we are opening up this and exporting our jobs, and we'll continue doing that. And then poultry farms like mine will continue to be shut down. Rice mills, the rice farmers, all the success that we appear to have achieved is being rolled back by this policy.
Mane, thank you very much there for your inside track opinion of this issue. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Professor Israel Ango from our Kaduna Network Center, let's have your initial comment on this issue. Good or bad?
I think more bad than good, actually. Reason being that I know, every regime, in terms of leadership, say, for example, at the central bank, will come up with some policies, and some of those policies may be good or bad, but then there are good policies and there are bad policies. There is no justification, as far as I'm concerned, especially given the fact that we are unable to manage the demand side, on the supply side, and the demand side as well. Then we are opening up additional challenges, in the name of being liberal, and in also following the, if you like, the Bretton Woods institutions and whatever they are suggesting to us. I think sincerely, we have been saying it here over time, that one of the problems of this country is that we have become a dumping ground of sorts, of all sorts of commodities ridiculously, that are being brought into Nigeria simply because we are a country that allows all of this. And, for us to even imagine that somebody that is bringing vegetable or processed vegetables should go to the market, or somebody bringing in toothpicks should go to the market, the same market that somebody requires raw materials. It's surprising, sincerely, that an organization like the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria will hail this, because in effect, they are one of the few that will start to be affected directly. So as far as I'm concerned, it's more bad than good. It's good to be liberal, it's good to have an open economy, but then in the face of the realities, especially of the supply side, in face of the reality, the central bank has not been able to defend the naira, nowhere, globally. We know the systems. There are strict systems, and there are systems that allow for floating, of currencies. But even where you allow for floating of the currency, as we do in Nigeria, you don't release or allow your currency, and leave it to the vagaries of the market. You do something about it. We are unable, obviously. The central bank has not been able to do that. They have come up with, they have played since 2015 with all sorts of formulas in terms of managing the foreign exchange, and we have moved from less than 200 naira to where we are today. And in the face of all that, simply because we don't have sufficient, foreign exchange to protect the naira, what is the point, in allowing some of these things that are not required? Why should we, for example, allow things like tinned fish, to be imported, or furniture, which we can do here, or woods, related things that are actually being exported from here raw, legally and illegally? So what I'm trying to say is that, I think sincerely we are more answering, to the cause of this, the IMF and World Bank instructions, and no wonder, they are the ones that quickly clapped for us, and I'm actually worried, that they are hailing us. They are not looking at our problems in terms of supply. We don't have sufficient foreign exchange, which is what we need, to be able to protect the naira. At this rate, I won't be surprised if in another 4 or 5 years we are talking about 10,000 naira to $1. They will never be satisfied, these people. And of course, I've had suggestions about redenominating the naira. That will just be kind of a photo trick. It will not add to anything. It will not add to the value. So in the face of our reality, I think if CBN had done something in the past wrong, this one was not wrong. Even though, yes, I agree that there should be more on monetary aspects rather than on fiscal activity. Issues of the market. But what is even, this one is also monetary in the sense that is foreign exchange we're talking about. So if you want to get this foreign exchange, go and get it elsewhere. But why should we allow them to come and compete with genuine businessmen and women who are actually bringing in raw materials? Why should we patronize that? I don't support it.
Again, just to recap, the Dr. Kafo here says it's good intention, but of course there are issues that need to be addressed. Now you through the I&E window open, it means that everybody now can now source forex, foreign currency, just to put it at the official window. Whether you're an importer, whether you're an investor, you go there and you get it. Now that's, leads to several questions. It leads to one, while it may pull away demand for forex from the parallel market, probably leads to the unification of currencies. The question to ask is, how will it help to resolve the issues of, one, demand? Because once you have everybody flow into that window, do you have enough, like you've raised, enough supply to meet the demand? And then even if you're meeting the demand, we'll go back to the issue of integrity. Integrity of, officials of the CBN, in implementing the policy. The dollarization, the dollar, what do you call it? Yes, trafficking, let me put it that way. Yes. So how do we ensure that that process, the integrity of that process?
So one of the things I really appreciated is the comment Mr. Munir made. I like when he said, doesn't make sense that our infant industries are not even recognized. And I stand with him on that one because the truth about it is, like I said, you must put buffers. You know that Nigeria is a signatory to the CET, ECOWAS Common External Tariff, right? Now the band is 0, 5, 10, 20, and 35, I think. Now, if you're going to do this, you see how it feels. I'm being very transparent now. That's how a lot of people are feeling about this. And when you don't have the general public supporting your policy, it's already dead on arrival. Now, the concept is you have to show them some level of emotional concession and tell them that, hey, I have your interest at heart, not by saying it, but by showing it. So for every imported good that is, I think, rice, egg, cement, those ones that our infant industries are already textiles, that are already growing. For all those ones, if they are going to import, push it up to 20%. It looks ridiculous, but it tells them, it's a signal to them that, okay, there's competition now, let's put in the work. So for every time they are putting in the work, you're now caught in that dilemma of deciding, do I pay 20% to import this? Or go to Mr. Munir to get it? At that point, you're putting him in the limelight, not just blowing him out by just putting those policies and saying, hey, we are trying to look at, that's why I said partial and equilibrium analysis is dangerous. You're now looking at just the market. You're not looking at the people that make the market, right? That is one. The second part of it is now looking at it holistically. When you're talking about the harmonization of the fiscal and monetary policies, right? You see these authorities. One of the things that even killed the Naira redesign is because they were not in harmony, if you check it. You know, when the former governor of CBN, the suspended governor of CBN, actually embarked on it, he wasn't on the same page with the finance minister. But for some reason, the president right now has done something nice by bringing two people that worked with him in Lagos State, Cardoso and the finance minister, Edom, right? These two people can come now. And there's this notion that has been going on for a while that why is there only monetary policy committee? Why is there not an FPC, the fiscal policy committee, where once in a year, probably the second quarter, both of them come and hold one agenda through, and then you can have your independent listing. But at that point, we have one thing. I'm showing you the fiscal side and the monetary side. Now, the fiscal side is where I'm talking about these tariffs. 20% will put everybody in check for those items. The rest, you can leave them at the 0 to 10% bandwidth. But put these particular ones that the infant industries are already growing in at 20%. It now gives them leverage and a level playing field to play. But bringing it and just opening it out, right? Like,
but the big companies can afford the 20% and then...
The big companies can afford, but at this point, you're giving concession. Because the truth is you can't hold one constant. I mean, we have to understand that the parallel market is already overloaded. So over time, it's not going to be a permanent thing, probably 6-8 months. And then at some point, you now close out those particular districts. But for now, to spread even that exchange rate, that's bringing both the monetary and the fiscal together, you need to give some levity to both of them. But the way it is now, like he said, the danger is you're going to have discouragement, and the worst set of people to have under your command are discouragement, because no policy you make is going to work.
But I can't think of it, Dr. Okafor, even since the restriction was placed, and the intention was, of course, to grow our local, economy, local manufacturers. But how much percent do you think that has happened?
Okay, so this is another problem. Let's look at this thing holistically. Naira has devalued by more than 85% since 2014, right? We are surrounded by 21 Francophone countries. In West Africa alone, we are surrounded by 8 Francophone countries. Out of these 8 Francophone countries, you know that France has kind of aligned the CFA with the euro. So for some reason, there's this artificial strength that the CFA has. Now, all those exports that we make to these people, these imports, they import it very cheap. And when they import it, they revise it and make it better with the small. They bond their reserves. I think more than 50% of their reserves are with France. The remaining, they bond it to maintain that artificial currency. Now, when they bond that, they bond it to maintain the stability. By the time we're exporting to them, right, even our infant industries, when they're exporting to them, they convert this to finished goods and sell it out. So more often than not, the people that are requesting the true value of those goods don't come to Nigeria, they go through those Francophone countries. So regardless, you just discover that these people, even if we increase our exports, he knows by 30%, they will still have the capacity to buy it, refine it in their own place, and push it out. And then you discover that people are getting the finished goods from more of these francophone countries than even coming down here.
In other words?
In other words, the problem now is not just one-sided. There is a myriad of challenges. So first things first, that's why the CBN is trying to bring back the value of the currency, because if it continues, you will discover that some countries will not be looking at it. They'll just pick what they want and get out. Easy.
Well, Tochukwu, you've answered a number of questions, but I wanted to bring you back before Mane comes in to the original point you made at the beginning of this conversation. You said that there was difficulty in giving a yes or no answer whether or not the removal of forest restrictions on the importation of the 43 items is a good or bad policy. And you did say that what was critical is not to look at the policy now in isolation, but to also look at the surrounding circumstances, the underlying issues. You were already touching on one of them, namely fiscal policy. And the other one, of course, will also be trade, which one of our guests touched on yesterday. So in your opinion, what should have been done with respect to the other related matters before having this solitary policy to say that, oh, we have lifted the restriction on the importation of 43 items?
You know, yesterday inflation reports were released. I think we're on 26.7 right now. And if you look closely at that report, I think we discussed this over and over, but if you look closely at that report, you see that it was food inflation that was driving that, and I think food inflation is 30. And it's ridiculous that core inflation is still at 21, right? What you notice there is it's an infrastructure problem, right? We have infrastructure, the roads especially, diesel prices, right? And then we also have speculation, right? Speculation in the market is very high because people don't even feel like producing again. They're like, this is a quick form of money. So people are speculating and giving forward rates as high as 1,002 to the dollar, right? I think some people have even said as high as 1,005. So the first things first is to deal with inflation. I keep saying it every time that if you don't deal with inflation, no matter the policy you bring in, inflation will swallow it up and make it look obsolete immediately. Because the problem now is, like he said, food inflation is going to go higher because now they are more aggravated. So the people that are going to be feeling it are the indigents within. Because if I'm now in competition, I have to make my money somehow. So as long as inflation is there, you discover that all those policies that we are making are going to be almost obsolete. Then we have insecurity, then we have infrastructural challenges. Then you see that the monetary policy rates, I'm going to keep this one simple, it's not even working because the FDIs are not even coming in because of the insecurity in the first place. And the number of unbanked to banked, because of the trust deficit they have with the system, it's very high.
We have been borrowing and borrowing partly also to improve our infrastructure.
Exactly. And there are leakages which are not explained.
Okay, Mame, let's have your take on this. Again, from the practical side of things, yesterday we were touching on some of these items. Today you've touched on poultry and rice. There's also cement. It was an Obasanjo administration policy that ensured that we had self-sufficiency in cement production, also with the capacity to export. Then suddenly we say we are lifting for access to Forex for that item. Palm oil and palm kernel. I mean, I'm sure people here at NIFA will be weeping. I mean, if you are an investor, for instance, in Okomu Oil and Presco, these are quoted companies in Nigeria, what would be your reaction if you don't say fats and edible oils can now be imported with access to Forex? The items were never banned in the first instance, just access to Forex. Meats and meat products, sausage, is it rocket science to produce sausage? But yesterday, one of our guests did say, Ken Okoha, that on account of the 2015 policy, a number of investors had started making investments with respect to backward integration. And I'm sure persons like your good self or your firm had also made such investments to say, now we will have the opportunity of meeting our domestic needs, since there is there might be a drop in imports on account, one, tariff fiscal measure, and secondly, difficulties in accessing foreign exchange. So how do you put all of this in the same pot and then still have an edible meal?
I think for many operators, like me, small fries, the big guys, and the medium guys, you find that actually we just say our government has gone crazy. Doesn't make sense. You see, we just wonder. You give with one hand, you take with another. First, if you are talking of rice and the poultry sector, food security. So it's more than just simple economics of demand and supply and all those high polluting terms. It is about food security. You are on the way to achieving some cement, which is also an important part for buildings and construction and what have you. You are on the way to that, and then you are opening it up, and you are forgetting even. You see, a lot of these 43 items are just means of taking away foreign exchange for some dubious purposes. Not that the Forex that is got through those means is actually applied to import those items. It's just a kind of round-tripping mechanism.
Wheelbarrows and headpans.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, our economy will continue to suffer. I am no economist, but I don't understand, why don't you concentrate more on, say, fixing, getting more of the Forex? For example, the major one, in spite of all the talk for decades of diversifying the economy, is oil. Fix the security issues so that you can even meet your OPEC quota. Now is the season when oil prices have gone high. You are not even getting enough of that. I know there are some efforts. We see the NNPC and security chiefs going to the Niger Delta, but you need to do something more serious than that, because this is a threat to our national security when we are not meeting our obligations. Look at what the airlines have, the backlog of Forex that they cannot, source for. Now we are being told that even our LCs, banks are beginning not to respect our LCs because we cannot back it up, because we have this huge problem of so little Forex being chased by all these different demands. And then just like in Hausa, like the mad woman that goes to fetch firewood, she fetches so much, she tries to put it on her head, she can't. What does she do? She just adds more of the firewood. So at the end of the day, there is no way she can be able to put it on her head. So that seems to be what we are doing, because we are faced with a huge Forex squeeze, and then instead of fixing the problem and also addressing some of the fictitious means through which there is so much pressure on the Forex, we are just opening it up in the name of liberalization so that the Bretton Woods and all those will clap for us. But where did it take us? In the 80s, when Babangida was there, we did SAP. We were told that liberalize your economy, will open up, foreign direct investment will come and all of that. Where is it? And then while you are doing this, you are busy killing the infant local industries. So at the end of the day, what do you want to achieve? It appears that you just want to make Nigeria a dumping ground for all manner of goods. The dairy sector, they have just started making efforts to say that, look, we can't be importing dairy. Look at the millions, hundreds of millions, if not nearly a billion, that we spend just on milk, and it's powdered milk. Why don't we do it locally? The milk establishment, that's the Wamcos and all the big players, are just beginning to get around to the problem, doing some things in different parts of the country. And then now you are doing this.
Yeah,
so
and there's a good,
it doesn't make
last
sense.
year, early this year, that's a milk producer in Adamawa who was at the livestock conference here in the Federal Capital Territory, talking about the range of investments that they had made. For instance, I can't remember the name of the firm now, just part of what you are saying, on account of the need to bridge the shortfall in domestic supply of milk and milk products.
Exactly. Big players like Arla have come in. They are doing something in, is it Damo in Kaduna State? Some are in around Ishei in Oyo State, in many places. So many players are beginning to get interested. And then you just change the game. And then you just throw this spanner. And then what is hurtful is that the Forex is not actually applied to even import the toothpicks that are now being championed. it is just round-tripped. And then it adds to the pressure on the Forex exchange situation. And then meanwhile, sadly, you killed the little industry that is within the country that is creating jobs. So do you want to just create the usual government jobs of giving people motorcycles? How many Okadas Okada riders do you want to create? Why don't you keep these rice farmers, the rice processors, the rice merchants, all the people who are operating within that value chain? Same thing with the poultry sector, from the woman who is keeping a few chickens to the big establishment like the one that came into Kaduna State, the Malaysians, the Malaysian-owned company that is in Kaduna State that has established a big farm there on the Kaduna-Abuja expressway, doing fees, doing chicken and all of that. And then the big place in the southwest that have been there for a long time. And then now you are just springing this?
I feel your emotions, and indeed, let me go to Professor Yushau Ango. Professor Ango, I'm just trying to go through a snapshot of the 43 items, of course, previously with Forex ban, and I'm just wondering. Again, look at I see headpan, I see toothpick, I see wheelbarrow, I see kitchen utensils, and I'm just wondering, and so on and so forth. I'm just wondering, who exactly are the buyers of Forex for these items? Because I don't know if the CBN actually, took into cognizance people like Manu here, Dan Ali here, and other smaller, indigenous manufacturers, whether it considered the impact, this policy would have on our local, industries and economy, or might this just be maybe step one in what probably they intend to do?
Step one, but like I said, I think sincerely, what happens is that once there is a change in regime in any organization or government, you want to look different. You want to show that you are different from the former setup, and you come up with something. Yesterday, I listened to the discussion, and obviously, one of the major concerns was that when the policy of banning the 43, or rather banning the purchase of foreign exchange officially of the 43 items was announced, there wasn't so much consultation. So, and of course, the same thing has happened now, back to back. There wasn't any consultation now that the policy is reversed. Now, one of the problems, of course, is that I think, a new man is at the helm of affairs, a new management completely. In fact, for the first time, we're having a complete change of management at the central bank, without all the deputy governors are new. The CBN governor himself is also new. So probably they need to show something, to show that they are different. Otherwise, however bad a system is, there must be something good in it. So one thing that is wrong is that, of course, there wasn't much consultation, obviously. We haven't had anything. We just had that the policy has been aborted. So I think that is part of what was wrong. I think if there were some kind of, discussions and a wider consultation with especially those concerned, there wouldn't have been this. I think sincerely, we need to do something in this country. We have been saying it here on this program over and over again, that a lot of things, patriotism is what we require. We have a large population that is growing very fast. We have a large youthful population in particular. Most of them, or many of them, are unemployed. We need to, as a major policy of this country, we need to make it, more than anything, we need to ensure that there is so much employment available for the teeming population. If we do that, I wouldn't say Nigeria will be self-sufficient in everything, but I think if we do that and we engage everybody, at least we have a market. We have a very huge market. And then, in addition to the fact that we have the African market, there is the African Free Trade Agreement, which is now in force, so which has also given us another wider market. I think we need to think like that, and we should, you know, be, like I said, patriotic. You know, quite a number of things, like Manir said, a number of these foreign exchange that we're talking about, a lot of it is being taken out. There is, you know, speculators, people who are just moving to safe haven. You know, they are not confident. You know, maybe Nigerians, maybe non-Nigerians. They are just taking the money out of Nigeria, not necessarily bringing things, or by inflating invoices. We have spoken about that here. We said when they are importing, they overinflate the invoices. When they are exporting, they underinflate it. You know, I mean, how can we move forward, you know, in a country like this? So we have to agree with the major issues. The major issue is that we have to make this economy very productive, and the way to make it very productive is to support local industry, to support local investors, to support local entrepreneurs, to protect businesses. We have said it here and over and over again. Why should government, for example, buy furniture, even government itself, buy furniture from abroad? Why should they buy vehicles, you know, the National Assembly buying vehicles from abroad? When we have innocence, we have companies in Nigeria that can do it. Challenge them. And if we challenge more, we will see more. We have seen this with rice. How many people, how many industries have been established that are processing rice today? I mean, we have said it also here, you know, with COVID-19, that if Nigeria did not have sufficient food, we would have been in danger. I think, you know, we have been pushed to some point where perhaps maybe we'll depend on some countries to supply us food, and then, of course, they will dictate to us. They will tell us, we're only going to supply you food if you agree to this or that, you know, including all these various social issues that are coming up. So what I'm trying to say, basically, is that we should make this economy productive. We should support the productive sector of the economy. Investors are coming in, as where examples have been given. We should support them, and we should support the local economy. Anything that will make Nigeria further a dumping ground, we should not support it. And that is what we have done with this removal of the ban.
Professor Yusuf Ango, thank you very much. I still want to stay with you and take advantage of course, your experience and knowledge as a former banker and also, shall we say, occasional farmer. I mean, you're also into farming, and this is very productive. But much more seriously, look, we know that there had been pressure on the I&A window, which is why people were going over to the parallel market. This policy now does not envisage the elimination of the parallel market. If there were difficulties pre-existing with respect to access to Forex on the I&E window for genuine business persons, including airlines, an example we have cited today, how can that I&E window now cope with the demand for Forex with the lifting of restriction on the 43 items?
Let me correct you. I'm not a part-time farmer. I'm a farmer, actually. And as I'm talking to you now, my rice is being harvested. So I farm. I have also been a poultry farmer before. So in a way, I have more or less, as far as the primary production of it, I've done almost everything sincerely. And I do it. So that aside, you know, that is the point. Now, we said it also here that it is a very good policy that we have closed the gap, you know, between the parallel market and the I&E and then the direct CBN market. It's a very good thing, you know, because of the advantage people are taking and arbitraging and taking advantage of the economy and circumventing all the policies and taking these monies out of the country and depositing them elsewhere. Now, that is true. But now we have reached a point where our image is also at stake. You know, when we are unable to pay airlines, you know, for services rendered, that is an image issue. Then we are now worsening it. What I would want to see our policy makers do is to widen the supply side as much as possible. Yes, Dr. Okafo had mentioned the issue of the remittances from diaspora and things like that. They are mostly coming to the parallel market more than anything. All the initiatives have been done, to encourage them, of course, to bring in more money. But, of course, it's not within the control of the central bank. When we are talking about the foreign reserves, then we know that was not within their control, so they cannot do anything. What they have in the foreign reserve is what they can use to support the naira. We should do more. We should do more to protect our nascent and businesses. We should now do more to widen the sources of foreign exchange as much as possible. Whatever is not necessary, we should not do it. Especially, I said, government itself, whatever it buys, even if it cannot stop others. It can do that, of course, through tariffs. It can increase tariffs. But then, if it cannot stop others, for now, whatever government is buying, for its own services, let them concentrate more on the Nigerian-made ones. That way, at least, we'll have sufficient ones. Luckily, and I hope very soon, our refineries will start working so that we don't have to import fuel. A lot of the, again, foreign exchange we are spending is actually in importation of fuel. So if we don't have that, perhaps maybe will there be a bit more sufficient amount of foreign exchange available for real needs. We should be able to be strict, and ensure that we support only those sectors that need to be supported. Anybody that wants to go, we cannot stop the parallel market, unfortunately, given the structure of our economy. So anybody that wants something else can go to the parallel market and get it. But official funds should be only for those who are actually supporting and directly helping the Nigerian economy.
Ango, thank you. Let's again put you on hold and quickly get the response of Dr. Kafo before we go for a break. And Dr. Kafo, I'd just like for you to explain to us. These are financial, issues, terminologies. A lot of us, are, ignorant about the wheeler buyer and willing seller system, according to CBN, of course, will kind of, stabilize, the exchange rate, probably. That's the intention. Pull from here, draw here, and then, with time, there should be stability. But what I don't understand is how does that help to ensure supply? Because that's what CBN is saying. It says after a while, we expect liquidity to improve, and then we expect distortions to moderate. How does that happen? With all the issues that we have, pointed out.
I always like to say this, talk is cheap, right? Sound bites. You can say things that you want to make people. Sometimes some things are said just to taper down the tension in the economy, but the reality of things are, it's not actually what it is in itself. Now, the truth is, if you look at the economic realities now, our external reserves are declared in net, which is wrong. I think we are one of the few people in the world that do that, even in a crisis. The gross is actually what makes you know your fighting power. And the thing that actually, because the reserve in itself is not even the solution, because the reserve is just a stock. What the solution is the flow, right? What is coming in versus what is going out. And what is coming in is majorly from oil receipts. And unfortunately, they are not looking at the fiscal angle of it. And that's why I said there must be harmonization. The fiscal angle is because of the insecurity and the whole vandalization. That is where more investment should be put in with regards trying to secure that source of inflow for us. And then because we are having these leakages, we are in a time, like he said, where oil prices are high. I think Nigerian Bonny Light hit 95 one time, and we couldn't cash out of it because of, what do they call it, lack of productivity, as in production capacity. And then another soundbite has come up again that we are going to be producing 2 million by December. The question is how? We keep doing a lot of, we will do this, we will do this. Tell people how. And that's why I keep saying the trust deficit will keep increasing, because people have heard these things for 2 decades now, and they're getting tired. So the question now is, how do you intend to do it? Start sensitizing people, because now everybody is involved in economic activities because the pressure is too much on everybody. So if you don't enlighten them and you say, people will keep speculating. So if you don't tell them this, how do you, and they can trust you to a certain level and enlighten other people, nobody's listening to you. You're just talking, it's just like music and people are passing. And then everybody is speculating on that same dollar. And then for some reason you'll be saying we are going to get the resources. How? And even when you get it, what is it used for? So the concept now is not about the sound bites or announcing it and coming out to tell me that it's 2 million barrels or it's going to liquidity will come. Okay, I'm going to say I'll be a millionaire tomorrow. Oh yeah, now.
Well, go ahead, Kingsley. Go ahead, please.
Well, I think we are going to have to thank our three guests who've been with us. We know that this will be an ongoing conversation as the effects of the lifting of access to foreign exchange for the importation of 43 items, as those restrictions have been lifted. We'll see how those consequences kick in, and I'm sure we'll have the opportunity of bringing in a producer like Mane Danale, of course, who is into poultry, as well as Yushao Ango, who is into all-round farming. So on that note, we'd like to thank our three guests who've been with us this morning. Dr. Tochukwu Okafor, economic analyst, we do appreciate your contributions to our conversation this morning. Yushao Ango, Professor of Finance and Entrepreneurship and Deputy Vice Chancellor, Kaduna State University. We appreciate your being with us on the program, as always. And here in the studios, CEO of Gayauna Farm Enterprises here in the Federal Capital Territory, Manir Darali. We thank you very much, and we hope you're able to absorb the shocks arising from what has happened. Manir, thanks a lot and best wishes.
Thank you.
And you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service. Just before we go on this short break, now a little reminder. In the course of our newspaper review this morning, I was talking about the story that came from the FCT minister that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had approved the establishment of the FCT Civil Service Commission. Now, one of our regular guests on Good Morning Nigeria, who is also a regular viewer of the program, Engineer Kashim Ali, has sent me a PDF showing a bill that was passed and assented to in 2018. The bill was passed in July 2018, forwarded to the then acting president, Professor Yemi Shibanjo, Learned Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and he assented to it as acting president in August of 2018. That act established the FCT Civil Service Commission. So the question then also arises, thank you very much, Engineer Kashim Ali, what then did the FCT minister go to secure approval from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now.